Thank you for tuning in. I am going to do my Southwest Cannabis Conference presentation on Facebook Live. I do want to warn you that the content here may be a little graphic. I don't know if you are sensitive or you're sensitive to graphic photographs. If you don't want to see what breast cancer really looks like, I do not urge for you to watch this. Hopefully Facebook doesn't take it down. They might. I hope not. I have an important message, and I'll start off by introducing myself for those of you who may watch who don't know who I am. My name is Barbara Humphreys. I am 33 years old, and when I was 31, I was diagnosed with a very aggressive form of breast cancer. So this presentation will be about that. There will be photographs involved that I've never shared before of a really difficult content, and so like I said, if you don't want to see that, then you probably should not watch this. So thank you, and I guess we'll go ahead and start, and then we can do some questions afterward. All right, here we go. All right. Hopefully y'all can hear me. Can y'all hear me all right? I'm going to zoom out so that I can get a good view of the whole screen, so bear with me. If I can hold it without shaking. Why am I shaking? All right, here we go. Alrighty. Still not far away enough. Okay. Dang it, I'm shaking still. Okay. For me, it all started with pain. My doctor said that cancer doesn't hurt. I'm here to tell you that that is a lie. The very first symptom that I experienced was pain. When I was at work and I would try to lean over the counters, I would get a shooting pain up into my chest. And, you know, when I went to the doctor, my doctor actually laughed at me. They laughed and they said, "Cancer doesn't hurt. You don't have cancer. There's no way you have cancer." Before we go into the whole thing, I just want to very quickly talk about the symptoms and signs of breast cancer, and I want to be very clear that it does affect men and women both. So men and women need to look at these signs and symptoms because it could affect you. It could affect you at any time, and so we're going to go over a few. The most common is a lump or a thickening of the breast, discharge or bleeding from the nipple, change in size or contour of your breast, any redness or pitting or any itching, inflammation, skin color changes. Does your nipple look different? Is it a different color all of a sudden? Is it pointing upward or downward? Are you feeling pain? I mean, don't let them tell you that cancer doesn't hurt, because that's a crock of shit. Personally, for myself, my symptoms were the pain, first of all. And then as I started having my examination at the doctor's office, she asked me to lift my arms up above my head. And that's when I noticed that there was like an indentation in the bottom of my breast. I had never noticed it before because I don't really typically stand in front of the mirror with my arms raised above my head. But those were the symptoms that I was experiencing. And on May 14th, 2014, I was diagnosed with stage 2 invasive ductal carcinoma, and it was 2 days after my birthday. That photo right there is a picture of my 3D mammogram, and all of the lit up area inside is cancer. It was almost taking up my whole breast. I had no idea. I'd also like to add that I was breastfeeding. My daughter was like 1 at the time, and I didn't know if the pain was from that or if, so I kind of ignored it. I ignored it longer than I should have. Here's the biopsy pathology results. This is before I had surgery. They do a needle biopsy right after they suspect that you have cancer. And it said invasive ductal carcinoma. They found another kind of cancer called ductal carcinoma in situ. And then, that's just a little bit of information about that. On the first day of diagnosis, so like an hour and a half after they told me I had cancer, they rushed me over to Baylor, where I met a breast surgical oncologist, and I was still reeling from learning that I had cancer. Like, I can't even tell you how my brain was at the moment. I couldn't process my thoughts. I was like a basket case. I was in disbelief. There were so many things going on. They didn't even really give me time to process it. But on the very first day, I was told that a lumpectomy was not an option, that they were going to need to remove my breast. And so I made the personal decision myself to have both of them removed. And the reason I did that, and it's a personal, and it may be vain, I don't know, but I didn't really want to walk around with one boob. I knew I couldn't afford to get reconstruction surgery, and I haven't been able to till this day. So, years later, I'd be walking around with one boob, so that wasn't really an option for me. Chemotherapy was not an option. I was told that the size of my tumor was outrageous. They couldn't really believe I had a tumor that large at my age. So chemo was not an option, and I would most definitely lose my hair. I was also told that radiation would be given on top of the surgery and the chemo. Most people don't know a lot about cancer, so I'll just explain a little bit. Usually they don't do radiation after the surgery and chemo. The only reason they did it with me was because I was a very aggressive case, and I have a very high chance of it coming back. Unfortunately, it's something I have to live with every day. I just believe that I'll be cancer-free forever, but, it is what it is. And I'm ER/PR HER2 positive. So what that means is my cancer is feeding off my estrogen and my progesterone. So basically, my body was literally trying to kill itself. It's, ridiculous. But all of my own hormones were creating my cancer. And I overexpress a protein, which is called HER2, and it makes my cancer grow very aggressively. So that's why it got, so large. It was crazy. It was the HER2 protein. Okay, they told me I would have to have surgery within the week to have a port implanted in my chest. So this photo over here, that is a chemo port, and they implanted it right there in my chest. They put a line into my artery there. That went down into my heart, you guys. And that's how they gave me chemotherapy. I would not be able to have reconstruction until a year following completion of radiation. So, as you know, I'm like way far out a year from radiation. I still don't have breasts. One of these days, God will bless me with them, but I don't know when it will be. I know then that was one of the things that bothered me the most, but it is what it is. And I was also told that my children may be at an elevated risk for developing breast cancer. That is one of the things that just killed me until I got my genetic test. I went and luckily I got a BRCA test to see if I was a carrier, and indeed I was not. So my kids do not have an elevated risk. That's the best news. I don't know if y'all remember, but Angelina Jolie decided to have a mastectomy when she found out she was BRCA positive. That's because your chances of getting breast cancer like doubled or tripled almost. Okay, so in the first week, I met both of my oncologists. I had the surgery to implant the port in my chest, which hurt so bad. It hurt a lot worse than I thought it would. The doctor's decision was to do chemotherapy before my surgery because of the size of the tumor. It was actually 7 centimeters. And if you're not familiar with size, that's about the size of a small orange. But I was well endowed, so, it was kind of hard for me to even tell it was there. I started weekly Taxol and Herceptin chemotherapy treatments. Had an MRI and a PET scan. And that's when they did the genetic testing and found out that I was negative. And here's a little slide here. It shows BRCA genetic mutations. They only take up a very small portion of most breast cancers, which is good. But if you are BRCA positive, that means that you and your family members, children, and all have an elevated risk at developing breast cancer. So this was my new reality. I had weekly chemo treatments every single week for 7 hours at a time, you guys. And that is the lovely port that they put in my chest. They would leave it in there. They would put it in there with this needle that was like the size of a roofing needle, you guys. Leave it in there for 7 hours. And here's Taxol. That was the worst drug of all. Over the time that I took the chemo, I did 6 different chemo drugs, okay? Taxol, I couldn't breathe. I mean, it gave me the worst allergic reactions. They were pumping me full of Ativan and Benadryl and all kinds of things that just really made me feel awful. Awful, awful. I hate pharmaceuticals. I would rather never take them in my whole life. And, at the time, the only thing that was good were the foot rubs. He would do it for hours because, it was awful. Okay, so the complications. After the first chemo, as I said, I started having the allergic reactions. My chemo was switched. Sorry, you guys, my phone. And this time they put me on Taxotere and Cytoxin. That was a weird little name, Cytoxin. Anyway. And my hair started falling out fast. When you lose your hair, when it starts just falling out and you rub your hand over the top of your head and you just have clumps of hair, it gets old. I mean, my pillow was covered. My hair was just, my scalp itself was killing me. So I just shaved it off and I rocked it. I just rocked it. I didn't wear wigs. I just said, whatever, because I feel like I'm just too sexy for my hair anyway. And that's just why it's not there. I think I did it well, you guys. Okay. This is a little short video of chemotherapy when they were inserting a needle in. I'll go ahead and play it. I don't have sound because I don't have speakers. I use the headset. Thank you guys for watching. I mean, I'm sure it's not the most fun thing to watch in the world, but I really feel like it should be shared. I just wanted to let everyone know that I recently, today, was asked to go speak at the Seattle Hemp Fest. So in August, I'll be going to Seattle and doing my first, like, out-of-state speaking. Thank you. So, there it is. There's a line in my chest, and that's where they put the chemo. It was horrifying. I hate needles. I still hate needles. I have medical PTSD. It's a thing. Here was the second drug, Taxotere. Okay, so after 4 months, I finished chemo, I thought. That's me and the awesome lady at Baylor. I love her. She was an angel. I need to go visit her and show her all my new hair. My mastectomy was scheduled for 11/4/2004, and that was a hard day for me because my father died on 11/3/2010. I love my dad. I miss my dad. He was my favorite person. So just having it be the day after was hard on its own right. After surgery, it was discovered my cancer had spread into my lymph nodes and had invaded my blood vessels. They found extensive lymphovascular invasion, and so they told me that I was going to have to restart chemo again, all over again, the whole thing. So I wasn't really done. This picture here was like hopes that really, at the time, weren't going to happen. I was feeling very sick and drained, and you can tell by my face there. Like, I look way different now. So after my mastectomy, I learned. This is actually a very difficult slide. So again, if you don't want to see what I'm about to show you, then you could probably just back right out of this video. After my mastectomy, I learned the real ugly truth of breast cancer. And it's not about pink, pretty ribbons, okay? It's not about walks for life. It's not about Susan G. Komen. It's not about buying t-shirts and all those frilly things. That's not what it is, okay? This is what breast cancer is, you guys. Blood drains that were hanging out of my rib cages. There were 4 of them coming out of both sides of me, you guys. That's what I looked like when I got out of the hospital. That's not an internet photo. That is the real truth. I'm sorry. Counters filled with pills. Fentanyl, morphine, hydrocodone, all kinds of things. 3 different things for nausea, amend, gabapentin for nerves. It was just a never-ending thing, you guys. That's what breast cancer really looks like. That's what I look like every day when I look in the mirror. It's just what my life is. I'm sorry. If it bothers you, hopefully Facebook doesn't remove this video. But I've had people ask what it is, what it looks like. That's what it looks like. It's not a celebration. It's ugly. It's painful. And it's hard for me to talk about. It's not easy for me to do. PTSD is not just for veterans. I have a PTSD reaction when I talk about certain things, and that's one of them. That's when I learned that my cancer had spread into my lymph nodes and my blood vessels. So here is my actual after surgery biopsy. Yeah. So that mass you guys saw on my breast earlier, it wasn't one, it was 11 separate small nodules of carcinoma. I had 11. Can you count that? That's insane, and I still can't believe it to this day. I had 11 cancerous tumors in my breast. Cancer in my lymph nodes, and they removed 22 of my lymph nodes from my left side. There's lymphovascular invasion demonstrated. That's why I had to restart my chemo. And down here it says numerous small areas of infiltrating duct cell carcinoma up to 4 millimeters. Grade 2 is not different from stage. That's completely different. Grading means how far is the tumor margins, just to be clear. Multiple areas of lymphovascular invasion. I was like shitting bricks at that point. Not gonna lie. So they upgraded me to stage 3, and I began another 4 months of IV chemo. I found out there were 11 total tumors. And I'm going to explain to you stage 3 breast cancer. So stage 3 breast cancer, there's 5 centimeters. Mine was 7, so it was larger than a, lime. So that's why I said small orange. So if you have clusters of cancer cells in your lymph nodes, or your tumor is larger than 5 centimeters, which is me. At age 30, couldn't believe it, you guys. Still can't believe it. So at this point, I was feeling my worst. I'm not gonna lie, I felt like I was gonna die. And my own doctor kept telling me I needed to make final arrangements. It was rough. My friend, she brought me some cannabis oil to try while I was in the hospital at Baylor. And I was willing to try anything. And here's me in Baylor. Can you believe that that was even me? Those who see me on a daily basis now can see the difference. And I had, on that particular day, a blood transfusion. So somebody else saved my life. Grateful for it. Thank you to those people who donate blood, because if it weren't for you, people like me wouldn't still be up walking around. I did some research on cannabis, and I found out a lot of very interesting things. Such as, it is an appetite stimulant, an anti-inflammatory, suppresses or eliminates nausea, has shown to cause cell death and tumors, increases mood by boosting serotonin in the brain, and our own bodies are built with our own endocannabinoid system. So we are hardwired to use cannabis from the very beginning. I mean, I can show you guys some videos and stuff on that if you don't already know, but I'm sure everybody watching already knows this. And as soon as I tried it, you guys, I noticed an immediate difference in how I felt. I would sit in chemo and I would just eat and eat. Okay. So this is me and Baylor in a hospital bed, medicating, breaking the law. This is me in chemo eating a Supreme pizza. This is me actively getting chemo after medicating and eating a Supreme pizza. I literally have chemo coursing through my veins in that photograph. And I started to feel like my old self again. I hadn't felt that in so long, I forgot. I didn't know if I would ever. So I began sharing with my doctors and my nurses. Here's a great photo. I'm sharing a Team Alexis interview with my nurse in the office. I'm great. Thank you. Okay. And my doctor wrote me this awesome letter, and I'll read it to you guys. I'll get closer, so maybe... All right. To whom it may concern, I am a primary care physician assistant working in family medicine and corrections healthcare since 1998. I'm writing this letter to explain my support for a comprehensive medical marijuana bill. In my career, I have always been drawn to serving people lacking social and material resources, especially those who have been forced into poverty by criminal histories, mental illness, or catastrophic disease. My patients range in age from newborns to those in their 90s, men, women, and children, legal, illegal, healthy, chronically and catastrophically ill, insured, underinsured, and uninsured. Despite fantastic advances in pharmacology, imaging, diagnostics, and understanding the processes of disease, our medicines and therapies for pain, anxiety, and many mental illnesses, neuropathy, and cancer are limited, toxic, and expensive. A safe, effective, affordable treatment option does exist for those diseases, and that is medical marijuana. This option is illegal in Texas because of random, unscientific, and fearful attitudes. It is past time to legalize this safe, effective, cheap, and non-toxic therapy. I've had the privilege to serve as Barbara Humphreys' medical provider for the last 4 years. I was her provider when she was diagnosed with cancer, an especially aggressive and complicated type. I have closely watched her progress as she has suffered through the pain of post-surgical care, the nausea of chemotherapy, the anxiety and fear of what will happen to her and her children. She lost her health insurance when she lost her job, and Medicaid has refused to cover her care. She lost her apartment and had to move back in with her mother. She has lost her ability to pay for chemotherapy, her anti-nausea meds, pain meds, and any other ongoing therapies, including some much-needed surgeries. Without her insurance, she is required to pay up front for any treatment, no money, no care. Unable to afford legal, expensive, and less than optimal therapies that are the standard of care, she has turned to marijuana extracts. Although the marijuana does not cure her cancer or resolve her escalating financial catastrophe, it has allowed her to eat, remain physically active, manage her anxiety and family obligations. Despite the ravages of surgery, cancer, chemo, and a loss of income, she has remained an exceptionally active member of society throughout this ordeal. She has transformed from a hard-working woman with 2 small children to the simply amazing and courageous mother, patient, activist, and inspiration she is now. What do we do for her as a community, government, and medical system? We deny her access to standard of care, medical treatments. We deny her access to safe and effective complementary medicine, and we criminalize her and her attempts to save herself, her family, and her life. We can change the latter of the 2 travesties today. We have the means, and the time is now. Medical marijuana is a safe, affordable, and effective therapy that must eventually be legalized, and I support her use of medical marijuana for the mental and physical benefit it offers. I am ashamed that as a provider, I cannot provide her with the marijuana she needs to overcome and persevere through her cancer, you guys. So what happened when I shared with my doctors and my nurses was that they really all fully supported my use of cannabis medically in an illegal state of Texas. So the reason I share this is because it's really important that other patients get out there and share. Don't be afraid of your doctors. The worst thing that can happen is they'll just stop treating you and give you a new doctor. And you know what? There's so many doctors that are open to it. You'll find one that is. We need them on our side. We need them to help us change the laws. That's when I took my first trip to the Capitol in Austin, Texas during active chemo treatments to learn to lobby for cannabis reform. That was my very, very first trip to the Capitol. It was the day after I got out of the hospital having the blood transfusion. It was right after I medicated in Baylor. It set off a light bulb moment for me. That's the very first time I met Alexis. She was 8. I don't know, maybe 7, who knows? Real little. That's the very first meetup at the Capitol, Patient Alliance for Cannabis Therapeutics, and I am in the back right there. I'm the baldy. I'm sure you can see I'm like the only one with no hair. But I was hooked, you guys. I found a calling. I found something that I was meant for. And while I was at the Capitol, I was asked to speak. I was approached by Sean McAllister, and I was asked to speak at an upcoming event. The event was the Cowtown Medical Cannabis Rally. This is a video of my first speech. However, I don't have speakers. Like I said, I use a headset. I'm like a gamer nerd, so headset forever. But I will post links in this video underneath if you do want to watch it. And I'll do the same for the next video that I share. This was also a very pivotal moment. It's weird how things always happen at pivotal moments in my life. So this is at a park called Trinity Park. It's about 10 minutes from my house where I live now. That is where I released my father's ashes in the river there because he asked me to. I go there and I visit him. Another tough subject, but when they asked me to speak there, it was almost like overwhelming for me because I felt like he was there. It was like affirmation that I was doing what I was supposed to be doing, if that makes sense. I always get these little signs in life. Yeah. That was the flyer for that event. My first speech ever. I think it was actually one of my best speeches I've ever given. The very first one I did. So I basically jumped in head first and I became an activist. And before I knew it, they were offering me awesome speaking opportunities. This is when I opened up and did a keynote speech for the comprehensive medical marijuana bill, HB 3785. It was put out by Marissa Marquez out of El Paso. And they chose me to be the keynote. To this day, I'm very grateful. I feel like this has changed my life. That was the press at the keynote. I was back over here. And patients should not be denied legal access to medical marijuana when a doctor recommends it. I still believe that. This is a video of that speech. Again, I cannot share it here because I don't have sound, but I'll put a link underneath. I do want to take a second and talk about somebody who inspired me greatly. His name was Vincent Lopez. He founded PACT, which was that very first meeting I attended at the Capitol. Vincent is in this video. He's sitting next to me, to my left, but on the right of the screen, you can see Vincent sitting. He was a spitfire of a man. When I first saw him, it really inspired me to just get involved. I said, you know what? I'm not even going to think about what's going to happen to me because I don't care what happens to me. I care what happens to everybody else in Texas, and I still care. And so Vincent really, he started that for me. I was involved in that before I got involved with Normal or anybody else, and I have him to thank, and I hope he rests in peace. He was one of the most amazing people I've ever met. "18 long months," and I tell you that feels like forever when you're having chemotherapy. I finally finished all of my treatments, and here's a lowdown. 1 year of Herceptin. Herceptin is targeted for the HER2 protein that I overproduce that makes my cancer grow out of control. I did 8 months of IV chemo, Taxol, Taxotere, Cytoxin, doxorubicin, which is also called the Red Devil or the Red Death, Perjeta, and 5-FU. I had 33 rounds of radiation and a double mastectomy. And cannabis really made cancer more manageable for me. I mean, the entire time I was on all those chemo drugs, I did not throw up one time. And I want to reiterate that I did not throw up one time. I felt a little nauseous. Food tasted like metal, but I was hungry because of the cannabis, and it really got rid of my nausea. It didn't just curb it, it got rid of it completely. I think it's a miracle. So, it's the short version because the videos weren't included, and you know, I don't know if I said as much as I did in the actual presentation, but I hope that you can take something away from it. I'm a survivor. I feel better every day. I look healthy. I feel healthy. Cannabis has changed my life. I'm not a lazy stoner. I'm not a pothead, as people want to say. You know, hopefully I make a difference in this world. And if nothing else, like I've always said this, even if I die from cancer, if it comes back, if something happens, I already won. I mean, I have a ton of people who love me. You guys support me. I'm changing, you know, lives. And that's really all that's important. I really appreciate you guys watching. Thank you. And hopefully it wasn't too boring. Anybody have any questions? I don't really have many people left here, but... All right, I'm going to end the video. Thank you. Well, thanks, Frank. I guess it does count. I mean, eventually I'll get them, so I guess it won't count, but you know, I'm pretty either way. Who cares? I've learned to love myself. It's given me a lot of self-esteem. I don't, you know, I feel like it really changed my life. Cancer's not the end of the world. I'm actually kind of grateful for the experience. I feel smarter. I feel more compassionate. It was a hard road and something that's difficult to relive, but I need to share it. People need to see it. And if you want to donate to a cancer place or to help cancer patients, do it through a local organization that really does help. I cannot stress that more than anything. Because they don't help. Secondly, if you're going to donate your hair, I suggest Pantene instead of Locks of Love, because Locks of Love charges cancer patients thousands of dollars for those wigs. And when you're going through something like that and you're already strapped, personally, I don't think that's really worth a donation. Other than that, thank you for watching. Thank you for supporting me, and I love you all. Peace.